four walls and a ceiling to providing a customer experience. Now that is being accelerated now as the market shifts and responds to COVID-19, and also is also being redefined by the bigger demand now on health, sanitation, and safety. So technology is also giving property management a shot in the arm, where customer experience is now a combination of both the physical and digital realm. In ULI, we like to talk about placemaking. That's connecting the tangible or the real estate with the intangible or the human connectedness. And that's where property management comes in and becomes even more important during this time. So in the Philippines, we have recently reverted to a stricter lockdown after a few weeks of being able to go back to offices again. So what is crucial now is, making tenants regain that confidence and property managers being able to address that, safety first need of customers at this time. So that's what places property managers at a very important time where, it's faced with its own set of challenges in providing a human touch in a contactless world, right? So we are navigating this new world together. There's no set playbook. Just like you, I'm very eager to hear from our speakers now from the Philippines and from Malaysia to share their experiences and for us to take away best practices in property management for business continuity and to allow us, our tenants, residents of commercial and residential properties to successfully travel this road together and move forward. So thank you very much for having me here. Back to you, Rick.
Thank you, Jean, and thank you for these opening comments. And once again, congratulations on your new role as head of the ULI Urban Land Institute in the Philippines, succeeding Buds Wenceslau, who did a great job. Basically, we want to provide a Philippine overview of the property management in terms of response to COVID-19. Therefore, I'm very pleased to introduce Ed Makalintal, the head of Santos Knight Frank's property management team. Ed is in charge of the property management operation of various vertical and horizontal properties ranging from residential and office buildings to resorts and luxury residential villages in Metro Manila, including Calabarzon, Davao, among other locations. He brings with him over 20 years of property management experience gained from leading developers in the Philippines and abroad. Ed, over to you.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, Rick, and good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to share with you the measures we've taken up, and to sustain operations here during the pandemic here in the Philippines. Slide, please. Okay, so in the previous SKF webinars, Rick talked about CPR, which what we need for the real estate industry to sustain its operations. We use the same acronym also in property management, but this time in the CPR means communication, preparation, and resources. So under communication, it is very important, it's very critical that we communicate and coordinate with the local government, with the barangays and also the IADF as to the policies and guidelines on how we will act into this pandemic situation and how we will be able to respond, especially to all those COVID positive cases in our communities. And it is also very important that we also communicate and coordinate with the building owners, the residents, the developers, and so that they will be updated also on our plans on how we will be able to mitigate the risk of a COVID infection in the properties we're managing. We are managing almost all kinds of properties from commercial, residential, subdivisions. So it's very critical for us to really inform and our unit owners, our residents, on what are the plans on how we will be able to mitigate this risk of infection. And then again, the importance of being in coordination with the service providers, so the security, the housekeeping, the technical staff, so that they can work in synergy and be able to make sure that the unit owners would feel that everything is being taken care of in the properties. And then, of course, we'll go down to preparation. Before the pandemic, we have all these kinds of plans. emergency and disaster plans, which covers almost everything, from the volcanic eruptions to typhoons, earthquakes, and even demonstrations. However, we don't have the business continuity plan for pandemic. So what we did is we review and revise our business continuity plan to include the BCP for the health pandemics. So it's a continuing process. So we really have to, review every now and then, just to make sure that everything will fit in and will suit it on for the pandemics. And then we also have this COVID safety protocol plan that we are now implementing to all sites. And also the reoccupancy plan, which later I will also discuss it to you. And then resources. We recommended the continuation of collection of sauces and juice and utilities payments, simply because in this kind of situation, and this kind of disruption, cash is king. So there should be a continuity of operations on all the managed properties. But when it comes to the waiving of penalties and interest, so we coordinated also with the condominium corporations and the board of directors for approval. If they're going to approve the waiving of such penalties and interest. And then for logistics, Santos Knight Frank Corporate, we provided shuttle services for all our staff, those who are having a difficult time going to the office because of the ECQ. And also we assisted them, the site people, the site staff, for the issuance of the checkpoint passes, so that it will be easier for them to go through all the checkpoints. As for the sanitation and cleaning materials that we need for the sites, SKF Corporate also, through our procurement department, also help out in sourcing out these needed sanitation and cleaning materials. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's the COVID safety protocols and procedures that some of the measures to be taken up in some of the properties we're managing. So one is the temperature, checking of all entrances, and then disinfection of all incoming vehicles. Also the health declaration checklist for returning tenants and employees after the ECQ. Health questionnaires for the visitors. This is for contact tracing. And then deep cleaning and sanitation of common areas. When we do the deep cleaning and sanitation of common areas, we don't just focus on the common areas, no? But even all the limited common areas, including, I could say, the barracks of security and the housekeeping. Because as you know, these are the frontliners, and a lot of passive cases really are now with the security guards and the housekeepers. So it is very critical that we also conduct sanitation, disinfection to these limited area spaces. And then also we installed social distancing markings on common areas, particularly on the elevators and even on the property management office. No? As you all know, property management office is the central transaction area in all the buildings. So it is very crucial also that there should be some social distancing markings and other reminders for safety. And reminders on the using of the face mask on all the properties that we are managing, and the prescribing of PPEs for all the staff, particularly those who are working on the common areas and those who are working inside the units for repairs. As you all know, this COVID experience really, limit us, no, in the face-to-face transactions with our clients. So what we did is we use technology also. We have a PM software that we are using in all the properties that we're managing to conduct transactions. Email approvals also on when it comes to the work approvals and release of passes. And also cashless transactions in payment of association dues, utility fees. And currently we are now working together with some firms who are the experts when it comes to cashless transactions, so that we can really roll this out to all the other property management managed properties that we're currently on. Next slide, please. I'm going to discuss the occupancy strategies and operations sustainability in all our managed sites. As I have mentioned earlier, we have provided shuttle services and transportation to all our employees who are having a hard time reporting to the site. And then also we help out in the issuance of access pass so that they could be easily go through all the checkpoints. And then a setting of new rules for the common areas, specifically more on the residential buildings that we are managing right now. We set up new rules when it comes to the use of the function room, of the swimming pool, gyms, and amenities, limiting the number of people using that, or totally prohibiting the use temporarily because of this COVID. And then also health questionnaires to all the visitors of the sites that we're managing. Circulars and notices for all the residents. We need to keep them updated on all the guidelines and policies being raised by the IATF or the community barangay level. And then deep cleaning and sanitation common areas now, especially on the touch points, on the on areas where there are a lot of traffic of people. So those are the areas we really focus on when it comes to deep cleaning, sanitation, and deep cleaning and sanitation and disinfection. Santos Night Front is also providing this kind of services. And then we also require our staff, on-site staff, for rapid testing, just to make sure that everyone is safe. And in our discussion also with other service providers, we are now also requiring them to do the same, just for the safety of everyone. And this COVID experience really is really a challenge for all of us. So we also are taking a look at the physical and the mental safety of all the employees. Currently, we're trying to provide safety awareness webinars through our health card provider. These are all for the Santos Night Front employees. And then we also conducted checkups of equipments in the properties because of the long absence due to the ECQ, due to the long shutdown. So we really need to make sure that all equipments are functional. And then coming to the new normal, we are working with several partnerships also to provide us new building technologies that will really help us to operate and sustain operations, so particularly on cashless transactions and contactless solutions. Next slide, please. So what is the future of property management in the Philippines? This COVID-19 experience really emphasized the need for building resiliency and professional property management. Property management services is not pandemic proof. However, it could be resilient. And the only opportunity here is really to provide best service delivery. Services will be the same. However, it will evolve. Property management is no longer just the usual, security and janitorial and maintenance, but there's more element of safety and sanitation and quality of air, and the use of technology, particularly on cashless transactions and contactless solutions. I could say that it is more now of a total wellness of a building. There are two areas of changes now in property management. One is the environmental, and the other one is behavioral. When we say environmental, this is more on the kind of the building that we develop, on the spaces. and the other one is the behavioral. I think it is now responsibility of our property management firms really to to come up with the procedures and systems that will definitely influence and shape up the behavior of people working and living on the buildings so that they can easily adapt to the new normal. That will be my presentation for today. Thank you, and everyone. Back to you,
Thank
Rick.
you. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Ed. Excellent presentation, and thank you for all your hard work. And and hats off to being on the front line during the crises and being on call to the critical industries, to the hospitals, and to the 24/7 BPOs and telecoms. So kudos to you and your team, and for all you do 24/7. Our next speaker is Kurovilla Abraham, the Senior Executive Director for Property Management of Knight Frank Malaysia. Kuru has over 30 years of high caliber experience in Malaysia, Qatar, and the United Kingdom. He has provided outstanding services to developers, multinationals, public and private companies, real estate investment trusts, REITs, and also fund managers. Kuru's team manage millions of square feet throughout Malaysia, and they are the leading property management FM service provider in Malaysia, including such assets as Astaka in Johor Bahru, the tallest twin tower condominium in Southeast Asia, KL Eco City, a 1.2 million square foot mixed use development, and more than 5 million square feet of real estate investment trust properties. Kuru also manages properties on behalf of Citibank, Prudential, Manulife, and AIA Cap Square. Among his credentials, he has an honors degree in estate management from Heriot-Watt University in Edinburgh, Scotland. He is a member of the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors in the UK, among many other professional affiliations and qualifications. Once again, thank you for joining us today. And now let's hear it from Kuru the Guru.
Thank you very much, Rick. And everyone hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, good morning and selamat pagi, as we say in Malaysia. Good morning. Firstly, I want to convey my sincere thanks and appreciation to Santos Knight Frank for this kind invitation to me in order for me to share our experience in Malaysia during this COVID-19 pandemic. We are, ladies and gentlemen, in unprecedented times. And Malaysia, like many nations in the world, started our lockdown on the 18th of March, 2020. And this period, which was called the Movement Control Order, or MCO, started from 18 March and went up to the 3rd of May. The MCO was further extended under the Conditional Movement Control Order, which is called the CMCO, and that went on from 4th of May to 9th of June. We are right now in what we call the RMCO, which is the Recovery Movement Control Order period, which is due right now to end on 31st August of 2020. Now, the number of COVID cases in Malaysia has been, in the recent days, averaging between 10 and 15%. So that's kind of good news for us in the nation. And generally, it has been concentrated in a few clusters and from imported cases from Malaysians who are returning back from abroad. Our total death toll to date is about 125. And I believe yesterday we only had 11 cases, new cases, again, concentrated in certain clusters. Now, throughout the movement control order, property managers and management service was deemed as an essential service. And therefore, our management buildings were all opened. Our site teams were working full hours because we had tenants who were deemed as part of essential service, particularly banking and financial institutions. So our team still had to be on site. They worked right through the MCO, the CMCO, and even through the RMCO. And since then, since the 4th of May, we've been back in full force in all our buildings. And today, I want to quickly just share some of the best practice measures that Knight Frank Malaysia undertook during the movement control order. And I want to break it down into the three main asset classes that we have, which is the commercial offices, the malls, and the residential developments, which are under our management. Now, what I'm going to share, I don't think you're going to see very much difference what's been done in the Philippines and other parts of the world, because it is something new for very many countries and very many of the property managers. We were able to share some of these best practices with our colleagues throughout the Knight Frank family, right from the United States to New Zealand and every country. We used to meet every fortnight to share some of the best practices and see some of the things which were working so that we could push it forward. So firstly, I want to share about some of the measures we took in our offices. As you can see on the slide, there are three periods of time that we had. So we started the whole measurement and the strict SOPs even pre the MCO. When we heard around the world that this virus was spreading, we started temperature screening for our visitors already prior to the kind of lockdown in Malaysia. Even our service providers were all expected to wear PPEs, face masks, and we had social distancing. We already had our process in place that if somebody's temperature was above 37.5 degrees C, they were not allowed into the building. They were asked to go to a clinic. We already had provided hand sanitizers, and disinfection of buildings were already starting. Visitors had to fill a declaration form, especially if they've traveled in from overseas and from countries where the pandemic was quite serious, especially at that time. It was countries like China and Korea. And also, we were continuously sending out notices to all our tenants and our landlords, and we're putting measures in place even pre-movement control order and throughout the MCO period. Can I have the next slide, please? So once we went into what we call the movement control order period and the CMCO and the RMCO period, that's the time during the months of March and April where the number of cases in Malaysia really increased. And that's when the measures even got more stricter. And so wearing face masks was all compulsory. As I said, our buildings were not totally shut down. We had essential services still being provided within the building. So we still had to entertain tenants who were coming in and also occasional visitors. One of the things we started doing during the conditional movement order and the RMCO is we split our side office team into two offices. This is something I really want to acknowledge a lot of our landlords and our clients because no building usually has two management offices. And they agreed for us to split our team in order so that if one person is infected, we do not need to shut down the management office. So we had split the office, the management offices into two in different parts of the building, and they actually were both working at the same time and the same days, but they were totally isolated from each other. So it was part of our BCP, and I'm very, very happy. A lot of our landlords agreed. There was a cost because we had to build up another office, put in the IT and all of that support, but all of them supported us, and we managed to open two offices within each of our buildings. There's obviously the limits to the number of people who could come into the building. There was sanitizer and disinfection. We had our housekeeping specialists who actually went in and looked at even the type of chemicals and the cleaning equipment that and chemicals which were needed to, because it's not just any disinfectant, it had to be a specific type, which was good for the cleaning. Recently, the government had come up with an app called My Sejahtera. You can see the term there. And basically, this is for contact tracing purposes. So most of our buildings, if not all, we already had a visitor declaration. We already had an app, but now we've added in the My Sejahtera app. So as people come in, see, one of the things is obviously everyone's going to argue about convenience versus health and safety. So whilst we have a visitor registration system in our buildings, there was obviously an added process where they actually had to write down their names, get their temperature checked and stuff. So we wanted to see how we could make it more convenient. So we kind of linked up our visitor management system with the health declaration and the screening. And I'm pleased to say that generally there's been not much queues in our buildings. It's also not everyone has come back to work as such yet, but everything's been managed well. And we are able, with the government, able to do contact tracing if there's any cases. The building systems, and this was very important because not the entire buildings were in operation. We had actually shut down some of our chillers, shut down some of our air handling units, and shut down some of the key things for two reasons. One is we didn't want to waste energy, and secondly, it was also there to help save the cost because it was a very tough time for all of our clients and landlords and building owners as a cost was running and there were requests for waivers in rental. So we had shut some of the things down, but as we went into the CMCO period and the RMCO period, we had to make sure that all of these systems were able to start up again and run again. And so our engineering team went in 1 week before we reopened the entire building and started up all our systems. And thank God, everything worked. Everything started back up again, and it was running very well. We also trained our security personnel and our site team on how to monitor and to follow and implement all the SOPs and guidelines on COVID-19. As Ed said as well, communication was a very, very key part of the whole thing. And during the entire 4.5 months of this lockdown, we had daily meetings and with the site teams and with our clients and with landlords, updating each one of them on what's happening and the measures that has been taken. Also during the RMCO period, it became compulsory for all foreign workers who were working, and specifically in the security and cleaning industries, for them to take the COVID-19 test. And again, pleased to say that was also completed and done, and we've got no positive cases within our setup. Next slide, please. And just going on to the malls itself. Again, this was a challenging time for our mall management team. We obviously had to close down some of the entrances, limit entrances to the mall. During the initial MCO period, we actually had 2 of our malls which actually had to shut down totally. They were not even open because a lot of the tenants were not operating. A couple more were running. There were daily preventive measures of social distancing notices and sanitizers. There was also a dedicated response team that we put in charge, ready to react on any suspect cases, and they were there on 24 hours. We also implemented energy savings initiatives. As I mentioned, tough time for the landlord, so we looked at energy savings, shutting down some of the M&E equipment, and only provided where absolutely necessary. And this helped, obviously, the utility expenses for the mall. SOPs were set up, as I said, it was unprecedented for all of us. That had to be constantly reviewed and reviewed from time to time, and that was constantly changed and communicated to all stakeholders. Online engagement, that was constant, giving all mall visitors and tenants regular updates on what's happening. And if there were some of the malls tenants who were operating any promotions that were going on, we kept that communication going on as well. And constant tenant management, looking at, especially at this phase where we are in, when would they be reopening their mall, their shop, and when can we get them running in full steam as well. Can I have the next slide, please? This is going into some of the measures that we actually put in right now, even in this time. So there's still temperature screening. This is the new normal. There are temperature screening for everyone. There is obviously the MySejahtera contact tracing app. Cleaning and sanitization, as Ed mentioned, in the Philippines, it's still going on very frequently in all our malls. Replacement of microbial hand soaps in all toilets. Hand sanitization placed at all lobbies, entrances, information counters. As Ed said, social distancing, stickers, notices all over the place. As I said, communication was very keen. very key in this whole thing. Constant reminder, even on through the PA announcements about people to keep their distances, because it is a general excitement for people as things are opening up, as they come back. Just to get back, they think things are back to normal, but it's not. So we had to constantly and do constantly remind people about practicing social distancing, or it's called physical distancing right now. Lifts also, there are still limits in number of passengers that can access each lift. Even toilets, where there are smaller toilets, they're actually still shut, and there are limited entrance to toilets, again to practice social distancing. Nursing rooms in the malls are locked at this time and will be only open upon request. And even our suraus, there's also limited persons allowed, again with social distancing. For the tenants themselves, they are expected to conduct temperature readings for their staff twice a day, undertake frequent sanitization of their unit, to provide hand sanitization at the cashier counter, also to control the number of people who comes in to their unit. The general guideline here is at least a 1 meter distance between two persons. They obviously have a work explanation application, and face-to-face meetings are limited. We try to limit that as much as possible. As Ed mentioned about cashless, yeah, as we encourage most of it through e-wallets or online payments, and discourage any over-the-counter payments. And F&B tenants are to arrange their tenants with social distancing, again, with the 1 meter distancing as well. Going on to our residential developments. Next slide, please. Again, there were the 3 periods. As I mentioned, even like the offices, we started temperature screening even pre 18th of March for the residents. And during the MCO period, now this is mainly for people who are actually coming in. The second slide is more on the facilities. So we were during the MCO, no one was allowed into the residential developments, except for contractors or for special care or needs that are needed for people living within the condo. So no visitors were allowed at all. And only essential and critical services were allowed: security, cleaning, rubbish disposal, pest control, they were allowed. And it was mandatory to wear a mask at all times when you're moving. Even our management office we had people in there, but it was closed. There was no direct contact. And during the current period, we still encourage the use of PPE, body temperature screening, and the e-form registration, QR code and health declaration still in place. Service providers also allowed now, and COVID tests, as I mentioned earlier, it's compulsory for all foreign workers. And practice social distancing is still there within all our residential developments. Next slide, please. This is my last slide. And basically, the common property, all the facilities were shut, as it was in every part of the world. There was no swimming pools which were open, no gyms, no saunas. Everything was shut. We are in the phase right now where things are slowly coming back, and we are opening our pools and gyms back in again, but again with strict SOPs and guidelines. It's a bit strange that you have to practice social distancing in a pool as well. So we have those guidelines and rules for this, and a maximum number of persons who can be in a swimming pool at any one time. The kids' pools are still closed. Gyms are still allowed. Again, maximum number of people depending, again, the number or the size of the gym. So you can see on the right side, we are at that stage right now. All of the sporting, recreational, renovation works, leasing activities are all allowed with conditions and obviously in compliance with the full SOP that is in place. And again, earlier we had, as I mentioned, the 2 site teams. Right now they are fully back in force in all our residential developments. So as I end this, I just want to leave all of you with some of the things for us as property managers and as people going through this pandemic. I think we're going to see in the future and from now on that health and safety is going to be a major priority. It was always there within property management, but I think it's going to go up in the list of priority items with landlords, with tenants looking for space, and in the budgets that we will soon all be working on as we come towards the end of another year and moving into 2021. Contactless technology is going to be very high in all CAPEX and building improvements. We're going to see a lot of that coming because that's what tenants are requiring as they look for space as well. And communication. I think the whole success and one of the reasons why I see a lot of building owners being happy with property managers is because of the regular communication. Everyone was living in an unknown time, and with constant communication, there was reassurances given, the measures which were taken. We were transparent in the entire communication. Even if there was one case, we did inform all the residents, and there was the whole SOP taking place. I think during the entire 4.5 months, we had about 8 cases in all our 25 million square feet that we manage. And all that's been totally cleared. In fact, all of those 8 cases never even came into the building. They were just recorded as people who lived or worked in that residence. But all of that was communicated. So transparent communication was very important, and that was very much appreciated by everyone involved. And as we say in property, it's always about location, location, location. But during this time, as property managers, I say comply, comply, comply. If we want to get back to where we are, if we can, it's just complying totally to the SOPs and hearing. And this is where, as property managers, we have a big role to make sure that compliance is in full effect. And just want to leave all of you all with 2 things. One is stay safe, stay healthy, and it's all our collective responsibility to ensure that we can carry on. And as Rick said, we all want to get back to the office and get back to near normal as we can, as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Kuru, thank you for your excellent presentation. And just a real quick question. One is, a lot of changes. Do you think these changes are permanent? And then how has the COVID situation changed the perspectives of landlords with regards to property management?
Yeah, I think you will see, I'll answer your second question first. As mentioned, we are in unprecedented times, and every measure that we take is actually kind of a test, but in compliance with what the authorities and government SOPs. But my personal view is that I think until a vaccine is found and until this virus is eradicated, we will carry on with these measures. It may be some relaxation depending on the number of cases that we have in the country. But we can see, even in our own building, as I come to work every day, we can see people generally getting used to the new normal, with the new measures, and everyone is concerned about complying with health and safety SOPs. So yeah, to answer your second question, yes, I think we will see this for some time going forward as well. And to your first question, yeah, health and safety has always been an integral part of property management, and it's best practice, whether it was during COVID or even prior to COVID. I believe, as I mentioned, we will see a greater emphasis on HSSE measures in our buildings, especially both for new tenants and for our sitting tenants, because they would demand greater emphasis on this. And landlords and property managers, I think, as I mentioned, as we now sit down in the coming months in the budgets, looking at maybe the capital expenditure, we will be looking at how we can incorporate a lot of the health and safety measures, such as contactless facilities and technology, into our day-to-day operations as well.
People will have more questions later on. Please feel free to email us with regards to systems, processes, QR codes, and the Knight Frank systems, and we'd be delighted to follow up on those after the session. So, moving on to, once again, thanks again, Kuru and Knight Frank Malaysia. Now let's hear this perspective of the Filipino Institute of Real Property Managers Administrators through its president, Nestor Correa. Nestor is the president and general manager of NetScore Resource Management and Training Center Corporation, a PRC accredited continuing professional educator and provider. He's also the president of the Philippine Association of Real Estate Boards of Mandaluyong City. Welcome, Nestor, and thank you, Nestor, so much for joining us today.
Yeah, good morning, Rick. Good morning to all the participants, no? Both here in Malaysia, in the Philippines, and all over the world who are watching right now. It's no, we're very grateful for having been invited to this very exciting discussion on the very relevant topic. Okay, so uh, just to give an introduction, the Filipino Institute of Real Property Managers and Administrators Incorporated is a very young organization. We've only been incorporated in 2018. But at that time, we were cognizant of the fact that most of the properties here in the Philippines are not professionally managed. And recognizing that, so we went into a rapid education program wherein we can convert young graduates into competent professional managers. So that's a time when this pandemic hit. We were not quite ready yet, but we did our best, no? With the limited resources and limited membership that we have. At the time, at February of this year, we only have about close to 200 to 250 members, no? Considering that the number of practitioners here are about 2,000 or 2,200. So we're just above the 10% level. And then we were caught by surprise because we were monitoring the pandemic as early as February. But as of early March, there were 0 cases in the Philippines. But once we heard,
Nestor, just, how did FIRMA and its members react to the pandemic, and what are some of the initiatives taken by the organization to help its members to deal with the situation?
Well, it was the lockdown was in March 18, and we just had our meeting on March 16, the board meeting, where we were discussing with one of the major hygiene products manufacturer here in the Philippines. And we were caught by surprise because we only have 1 day to mobilize our staff and inform our members on what to do with this particular lockdown. So what happened was the night before, FIRMA sounded off all its members to go on crisis management mode, okay, and apply the emergency management protocols that they have learned, no, during one or two of our certification courses. And then we made calls for property managers, because we've been receiving calls that tenants were asking instructions from security guards because there's no property manager on hand. So we made calls, no, for PMs, but luckily PMs then were not recognized as essential workers, so they are not authorized persons, no, to go outside, or the APOR. So we wrote a letter to the IATF asking for exemptions, no, to the travel ban, and for property management practitioners to be classified as essential workers. So eventually, the DTI classified us as our maintenance and security staff were classified as category 1, while property managers, as well as leasing managers and our resident managers and staff, were classified as category 2. From that moment, we referenced best practices from countries that have initially shown significant success in handling COVID-19. And this includes Singapore, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea. And also we reference guidance from US CDC, or the Center for Disease Control. And then a few days later, we held our first online meeting and came out with our FIRMA guidelines and protocols in combating COVID-19. So later on, because this virus is evolving, and epidemiologists have been revising their initial guidelines, so we have also to revise our guidelines, no? Then in our monthly membership meetings that are held online, we started inviting resource persons on relevant topics, such as adapting new technologies to combat the spread of the pandemic, and also in improving indoor air quality in our managed buildings. So, okay, we also have guested in radio programs as well as online business fora to discuss new property management initiatives, as well as answer questions regarding issues pertaining to COVID-19, the protocols that are in place, and what health standards should we reference. Okay. Now, I think we have been successful in that aspect, and but still, because this is an unprecedented event, we still are on our toes, no, on how we could improve further our services, and as well as minimize the risk, no, so that our tenants, occupiers, owners, landlords will have that confidence to continue on with their business. Okay, back to you, Rick.
So now, so Nestor, what do you think is the greatest impact of COVID-19 on the property management industry as a whole?
Well, I think the greatest impact of this pandemic is that people have become more conscious of their health, and they've been more choosy on the environment that they live in. You know? So during the last 3 months, or we're going to the 4th month right now, no? I mean in Metro Manila, no? So people have realized that their cramped living spaces have been becoming virtual prison cells, no, for them. And even for those who have the privilege to live in luxury apartments, they would want to trade their gilded cages for more outdoor spaces. So I think for the next few years, because we expect this to last for about 2 or 3 years, there might be a significant population shift, no, from central business districts to suburbs, no, because of the changing locational preference of people. So the less travel will greatly impact the hospitality industry, and for this sector, I think recovery will be quite slow. So, and then in the near future, no, in the following months, we expect a lot of business closures, particularly on the restaurants, leisure, entertainment, MICE events industry, no? And we see, as we have already seen, no, in other countries, a lot of foreclosures, loan defaults, bankruptcies. As soon as the second wave, no, will further unfolds. So I think we have to brace ourselves, no, for this second wave, and I hopefully that there won't be a third wave. Okay. Back to you, Rick.
Yeah, Nestor, learning from the COVID-19 experience, what areas do you think property managers should give the most attention to as far as property management is concerned?
Well, previously we are more engrossed on value enhancement and of course the profit aspect of managing properties or the income producing properties. Now, but COVID-19 reminded us of our core duties to our tenants and occupiers, and these are what? To keep them safe and secure, and second, to deliver the highest level of comfort possible. No? But then as we went into GCQ and the government have eased the travel restrictions and allowed more industries to open, we encourage our members and followers to apply the highest achievable health standards or safety standards instead of sticking to the minimum safety requirements of the government. So we felt that to minimize the health risk, no, then we have to apply steps that are 2 or 3 steps ahead, no, of what is prescribed in the minimum safety requirements given by government. So we have been talking to leaders of the HVAC industry, the IT industry, lighting industry, because if you notice lately, UVC lamps are proliferating in the market, no? And also with the hygiene industries, the producers, the manufacturers of face mask, alcohol, disinfectants, and with these industries, we are trying to explore ways where we can all collaborate and keep our homes and offices and industrial environments safe. Now, as for the comfort, we might not be able to deliver the same levels of comfort as before, but we strive to make the situation more bearable for our occupiers. So one area that we are focused on at the moment is airflow management. Now, this used to be formerly confined, or it's a specialization of course, particular property managers. These were formerly confined to medical facilities, used, applied in ICUs, no, in operating rooms. Also for the semiconductor industry, or where they had to have super clean rooms, no, and other data centers. So we are discussing and exploring ways we can use these technologies like negative pressure rooms, super clean rooms, no, and UVC lamps, no, in our managed properties at substantially reduced cost. Now, because it has to be substantially reduced because through experience, no, while talking to one of the manufacturers, to convert a 100 square meter room into a super clean room, you have to spend $500,000 pesos. So, of course, restaurant owners are already in financial crisis right now, and they don't have the resources to invest on another $500,000 pesos. So, in fact,
No,
yeah.
no, we hear you, and it's trying to find a cost-effective solution. So,
Yes.
but some excellent input there on clean rooms and the juxtaposition with air quality, what we're experiencing now. So, final question: how do you see property management after this global pandemic, and will this remote management, such as work from home, be as effective as how we worked prior to the pandemic?
Well, history has been witness, to the rise of property management expertise and excellence during times of crisis. No? As we earlier said, the situation right now is unprecedented. When I was asked during a radio program whether I believe there will be a V-shaped economy, I honestly said that we are currently experiencing something like the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918 and the Great Depression of 1930s combined. No? So I told them, expect a slow recovery. But we in the property management industry always strive during these periods of crisis. So if you notice, after the Great Depression, property managers were instrumental in keeping distressed properties in top shape until they were eventually disposed at a profit. So we are masters of repurposing properties whose viability have suffered during this pandemic. So our creative juices now flow out during these times. So in the end, property managers, I believe, will overcome the challenges and turn this into opportunities. Now, will the work from home arrangement be as effective? Well, we don't know how things will unfold in the next couple of months. As you said earlier, man is a social animal, and the fact that this has already resulted to a lot of stress-related behavior due to prolonged isolation. Different individuals respond at different levels to this of adaptation and coping in these situations. But one thing is sure, even if people work from home or other socially distanced working arrangements, FIRMA members as well as property managers generally will be there to keep them safe and comfortable in their chosen environment.
No, that's some great advice and much appreciated. And I think now more than ever, a lot of people that own these very expensive office buildings, residential buildings, mixed-use centers are going to say, listen, I got to focus on the assets I've got, preserving those and getting liquidity out of those. So thank you so much, Nestor. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Kuru, for that insightful discussion. We'll now open the floor to questions from the audience. To moderate this session, may I call on Cash Salvador, our Associate Director for Investment and Capital Markets, Santos Knight Frank. Cash, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. So we've been getting a lot of questions today. A lot of people are really interested in how has the Philippines has handled property management for COVID-19. And I think I'll try to weed out some of the questions. So I think first question goes to Kuru. Marlon Bautista is asking your situation. You mentioned earlier that you had 2 offices so that you can prevent the spreading of the virus. He's asking, how was your experience in doing this, and was it costly to do so?
So no, the experience was quite straightforward because we had additional space within the building where we could quickly set up a second management office. It wasn't much cost other than just getting internet facilities and because all the staff obviously had their own laptops and stuff, and it's only for photocopying and reprographic stuff that we had some issues, but other than that, not very much cost was involved, but extremely effective. It ran very effectively over the period.
Yeah, I think Marlon is also, toying with the idea of having the 2 offices that you mentioned.
Yeah, it's a good thing so that you don't have your entire site team down. If there's one suspected case, you have to close the entire office. So by splitting the teams, you at least have half the team able to carry on.
Okay, thanks for that, Kuru. I think, Ed, there's a question that you can answer. Laura Chin is asking, what are the best practices to allow residents to use community amenities, such as the gym, swimming pool, and jogging path amidst of COVID-19? I think probably she's interested in allowing people already to use these facilities and amenities.
Well, I guess it's a matter of just scheduling the use of the amenities when it comes to the swimming pool and the function room and the gym, and also limiting the number of people who are going to use those facilities. A lot of condominiums really prohibits the use of these amenities during the pandemic. However, of course, these are amenities to be enjoyed by the residents. So it's just a matter of scheduling and limiting the number of people who are going to use it. Of course, it should conform with the community guidelines and ruling. If the government's telling us to comply, then we should. So that's all.
Well, I think this is more of me adding to that question. Was there an experience that there was a coding for units, odd number units will be going on, will be allowed on these things?
Yeah, actually, that's a good idea. Maybe they can do that also, as long as it will limit the number of people using said facilities.
Thank you for that, Ed. I think Sir Nestor, Arvin Habon would like to ask that what are the current steps is the Philippines taking to keep up with countries such as Singapore and Malaysia on managing properties?
Well, FIRMA right now is trying to upgrade the standards and practices here in the Philippines to conform with the global standards as set by associations like IFMA, IREM, and other associations in other countries. In fact, we're also a member of the FIABC, the International Real Estate Federation, where we are also in contact with IREM and IFMA. So, and also we're a member as a realtor, as a broker, and being a past president of Pareb Mandaluyong, we have close contacts with our ASEAN brothers through the ASEAN Real Estate Alliance, Network Alliance. And we do exchange best practices from these countries, and that includes all 10 ASEAN countries. Now, our main thrust now is in educating property managers and producing professional property practitioners. So right now we have a 4-part program. We start with the level 1, which is lease management. Second is property administration. Level 3 is facilities management, and final level is professional property management. There's another in the pipeline. There's another level which is asset management. That's level 5. Okay.
Thank you for that, Sir Nestor.
Yes.
I think we have another question here. I think regarding this question is addressed directly to Kuru. Kuru Gail Umahag is actually asking, she would like to know more about the My Sehatera QR code system being implemented as mentioned in your slides. I think that is something that is very interesting to know more about.
Yeah, basically this is an app which has been produced by the government purely for contact tracing. So if a particular person is tested positive, through this app, we're able to find out where all this person has been and who are the persons that he's been in contact with. It's very easy for anyone to download the app from the government's website. You can register your building in that website, and then they will generate a QR code which you can print, and then you can laminate it and stick it up at all the key entrances. And people like you and me, we can just download the app either from Google Play or App Store, and you have the app. And the first time you register, they would ask you all the specific details, your name, your mobile number, and all of that. And once you have that, you get the app on your phone. And as you enter into the buildings, wherever they have the QR code, just scan it with that app and you're in. So it makes the whole process of checking in a lot faster, a lot quicker, and achieving the information that the government and everyone needs for contact tracing.
Thanks for that, Kuru. I think we have so many questions, but I think well, let's tackle one more. Ed, I think this question you can answer. Nick Ramos is asking, what is your best advice for building owners today?
Well, for the building owners, I think it's high time that you really consider getting professional property management services. Simply because most building owners have their own business also. So leaving the headaches of managing the daily operations of the building to, let's say, to the experts in property management. But then again, it's all about, there should be continuity of operations on all the building services. So there should be also let's say a continuity, a synergy between all the service providers that you're hiring, particularly property management, the security, and the maintenance, so that everything will be taken care of. And it could only be done by professional property management services.
Thanks for that, Ed. I guess just to wrap up, property managements really are unsung heroes. They are our frontliners now who are taking care of us whether in your condo or in your office, in the mall, everywhere. Everywhere you go, property management is the one that is implementing these rules and taking care of us so that we will stay safe and keep battling this COVID-19. I think we will be answering all the questions that you send over. We'll be sending them through email. We'll get in touch with all those people who have sent their questions over. But as of now, I'll turn it over back to Rick.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Cash. Thanks so much for that excellent panel discussion. That was fantastic. And also thanks again to our panelists, Nestor and Ed and Kuru. And thank you once again to our partners, ULI Philippines and FIRMA, speakers, panels for insights this morning. Clearly with property management, you wouldn't go to a doctor, you wouldn't go to a hospital and not ask for a specialist in an area. So within the real estate field, property, facilities, asset management are a very specialist field. So get professionals who've been doing that for 20 plus years. It is detailed work. They're looking after some of the most valuable assets you have in your company, and also the most valuable assets you probably have in your family businesses. So get the professionals in there. It's tough work. It's unsung hero work, but it's hugely necessary. And as times get tougher, and they will get a bit tougher, make sure you've got property management professionals in place. So once again, thanks to everybody. Please make sure you join our upcoming webinars on August 25th and 27th. We'll be conducting the Advanced Green Building Masterclass. Anybody who's seen like the Zwillig building, what you've seen there, that's something we were involved in from the very start, from planning, from lease up, and on to management. So that's a great example of some of the work we've been involved with on the green building side, and that's just one example. So Masterclass on green buildings, healthy buildings in partnership with the American Chamber of Commerce, the Philippine AmCham Philippines. Check the QR code on your screens for details. If you have any questions or feedback about this morning's session, please email us using the address displayed, and a member of my team will get back to you. Once again, everyone, please stay safe and healthy. Buenas and maraming salamat po. Thank you very much. See you next week.